Hope you all had a wonderful weekend. Welcome into First Take on a Monday. We got a whole lot to discuss, so I am extra crewed up today. Not only do I have Stephen A. Smith, Max Kellerman, but we brought out the big guns. Paul Feinbaum in the house. Hello, fellas. Good morning.
What's up? How y'all doing? Good morning.
All good.
It is a good morning. Good time of year.
Yes. And
at least for all of y'all. I'm a little sick under the weather.
Oh,
you understand? So Paul, take it light on me. Max Kellerman, I feel no need to tell you that. It doesn't matter.
Well, take it easy, because I always take it light on you. Don't worry about it, Steve.
On that note, guys, let's get it started. We got some controversy to get into. The college football playoff is set, locked and loaded. Alabama gets the 4 spot without winning a conference title. They're the first team to make the playoff despite losing its final game of the regular season. The Big Ten champion, Ohio State, who has 2 losses but beat Wisconsin in the conference title game, left out. Paul, does this prove we need an 8-team playoff?
Well, it would be great, but the people that run college football are from the prehistoric age, so I don't think they're going to change anything immediately, Molly. They think they got it right. I frankly think they got it right. And some would also argue that this past weekend, where the college football championship games were held, was really a play-in, a quarterfinal to the semifinals. So it would be great to have 8. It's not happening anytime soon.
Paul, I got to ask this question. I look at Alabama. You know me. I roll with the Tide. I roll with Nick Saban, no doubt. And I have no problem with folks out in Ohio State crying and whining about how they should be in. When not only did you lose by 31 to Iowa in November, you gave up 55 points. I don't want to hear that from them. I just don't. But I will ask this question. Auburn did lose. I'm sorry, they did lose to Georgia, no doubt. But they did beat Georgia early in the season, obviously, just a few weeks earlier, and they beat Alabama. What do you say to folks that look at Alabama at number 4 and say Auburn should have been in there instead of them, despite losing to Georgia in the SEC title game?
Well, it's a fair conversation, but don't forget, Stephen A., and I realize you're not feeling well, so I'll go easy on you here, but that was Auburn's 3rd loss. They lost to Clemson, right, which is a great loss. They lost to LSU, which is not great. So, I mean, they rolled the dice, and I think there's some fair discussion to have that Alabama sat around Saturday going to the mall and watching football and didn't get a single player injured, and now is in a really good shape, getting players healthy to now play for the college football championship again in the semifinals. Of all the things I really don't understand, it's the fact that the committee chairman, and listen, we all know they make this up as they go along, but he sat there with a straight face on Tuesday night and told Reese Davis the difference between 5 where Alabama sits and 8 where Ohio State was razor thin. And then yesterday, after Ohio State won the Big Ten championship while Alabama was shopping, he said that Alabama was unequivocally better. Now, that does not make any sense whatsoever, but I've come to expect it. Having said it all, I agree with the committee. They didn't bow down to pressure from Jim Delaney, the powerful Big Ten commissioner. They didn't just say, oh, hey, just because you win the Big Ten, you get in, even though last year they didn't say that. And finally, this is the 3rd time Ohio State has been knocking on the door. If Ohio State wants to be assured of getting in the college football playoff, don't screw it up. Don't take the chances that they did. And not only did they lose by 31 in Iowa, which is unforgivable, they looked terrible against Oklahoma at home.
Yeah, right. Listen, Iowa's a disqualifying loss. Anyone who loses like that to a team like Iowa, I mean, at home, it's over. That disqualifies you from being a national champion. But, Paul, I couldn't agree with you more about the 8 teams. There are 5 power conferences, 4 slots. That makes it awesome every year. Someone's going to get left out. It's musical chairs. Like, arguing about it is half the fun, at least for the fans. So, and who is this all for anyway? And when you think about the way it is with a 4-team playoff, Paul, all season long, you're basically in a double elimination tournament. I know Auburn, the 3rd loss, knocked them out. Without the 3rd loss, maybe. But basically, you're in a double elimination tournament all season. And, Paul, they got it right. By everyone's admission, Ohio State's got no case. Why expand it?
Well, no, listen, I mean, if someone has an argument, Max, and listen, I would like to see more, but, I mean, these conference championship games this past weekend were better than usual. I mean, usually they are snoozers, and I'm not saying the games weren't. I mean, the Clemson-Miami game was unwatchable at times, but SC, Southern Cal, disqualified itself really by playing a tough schedule. If they had not gone to Notre Dame and lost badly, and they did, and they played some Mercer, Akron, you fill in the blank, State Tech, they would probably be in right now. I mean, they're a really good team at the end of the season, and they didn't even come close, Max.
When you look at Clemson, I mean, how legit is Clemson in your eyes when we take into account the fact that they did lose to Syracuse earlier?
Well, they are legit. I mean, now, beating Miami looks good. I'm not sure it was all that impressive. I mean, I don't want to just rain down on Miami, but they won, like Auburn, they won 3 big games in a row at home. And what happened when they left Miami? They got hammered by Pittsburgh, which is just unbelievable. And then Clemson just destroyed them the other night. The game that really bugged me the most, though, was the Big Ten championship game. The idea that had Wisconsin been able to pull that game out and get in would have been fraudulent, Stephen A. I mean, I cover college football primarily in the southern part of the country. Wisconsin would be lucky, lucky to finish 4th in the Southeastern Conference. And the fact that Ohio State couldn't put them away in the final half, I mean, they were struggling. I mean, they were leaking gas in the 4th quarter, I think also did them in. Had they won 41-10, this committee probably would have gone against everything they said they were doing and put them in.
But Georgia, don't you have to go based on the results on the results on the field? Like, I hear what you're saying about Wisconsin. And ultimately you're right, because look how they performed against Ohio State. But had they whooped up on Ohio State, let's say, who says on any given Saturday, who says they can't win a playoff game, right? I mean, aren't we just kind of imposing what we thought going in to the actual result?
I mean, Max, I don't think they would have won a playoff game. And I hate to cite precedent here. I'm not arguing in front of the Supreme Court, although I would like to. The point is that the last 2 years, the Big Ten champion has lost by a combined 69-0. And of all the bloviating that we heard from Kirby Hocutt yesterday and every Tuesday night for the last 8 weeks, I think the committee was scared to death. I think those football coaches on this committee said to each other, if we put Ohio State in there and they play Clemson, last year it was 31-0. This year it might be 38-0. There was no chance, zero chance Ohio State could contend with Clemson. So they figured, okay, let's put Nick Saban in there and roll the dice.
Paul, one of the things that I think about, I'm looking at Oklahoma at number 2, and not enough has been talked about with Oklahoma this year. We talk about Baker Mayfield, no doubt about it, and how it's just a foregone conclusion that he's going to capture the Heisman Trophy. This high-octane offense is something to be reckoned with. But the team that looked like just totally stout against Ohio State, at Ohio State early in this year, had its troubles as the season progressed, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. How much significance, how much clout, how much cachet should we give to Oklahoma possibly winning the national championship? How formidable are these guys legitimately?
I think they're very good. And Stephen A., the defense has come on a little bit down the stretch. I mean, they beat a really good team. They beat them badly in TCU the other day. I mean, TCU is not just some fly-by-night organization. Gary Patterson is an excellent defensive coordinator. So I think they are formidable. Although I will tell you this, and a lot of people are looking at Georgia and laughing, but Georgia has been very consistent. They had one bad game this year, but they did go to Notre Dame. I mean, they have been destroying people. I was in Atlanta Saturday, and they shredded Auburn once they got into the 3rd and 4th quarter. Now, again, for Auburn's best player, Kerryon Johnson, was banged up, and he ended up fumbling in a situation that probably put the game away for Georgia. But still, I think Georgia has a legitimate shot at beating Oklahoma in that first game in the Rose Bowl.
We shall see. Bama, a 2-1 favorite to win the whole thing, the only team to appear in all 4 playoffs. Paul, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate you.
Molly, it was my pleasure. Thank you.
When we come back, Russell Wilson did something last night that has only been done once in NFL history. I will tell you what that is after the break. Donovan McNabb is joining us. And Rob Gronkowski